What's up guys, it's Minx. In today's video we are going to set up some patches. So in the last one we went ahead and added, where is it? Here it is. Spawn enemy at nearest location, which is pretty cool. In this one we're going to go ahead and set something else up. So in this one I want to give the player God mode, I want to do speed hack, I want to put infinite sprint inside of a binding rather than just have it kind of be enabled if it's in the code, stuff like that. So we're going to do all of those things today. And it's not a lot of code, believe it or not. The actual most of the code is actually just really quickly writing out those stupid bindings, which is probably the worst part because you got to like label them all and all that good stuff. So like a lot of typing is just not even code. So we'll go ahead and get that all set up here. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and start in configuration controller. We're not going to write out the bindings yet. We're just going to write out the variables, and then we'll come back to the bindings later. So for this one, we just need to give, we're just going to do 3 today. We're going to do the private config entry. We'll paste it or tab it in because it's easier. Bool, and we'll do God mode CFG. And I'm just going to copy this 3 times, I guess. I could have copied the first one. The fourth one's going to be a bool. The third one's going to be a float. We're going to call it speed hack CFG. And then, actually, I'll call it player speed. Speed CFG. Because it is a player speed thing, not a speed hack. I mean, it is a speed hack, but it's more along the lines of when it works, it's going to be the player setting the speed. And then infinite sprint CFG. And then we'll give the, we'll make the, whatever you call these, man, I can never remember. I think properties. I always get them mixed up. Field, property, one of the two. Yep, this is a field, the property. We mess with the property, and then the property hits the field. So for bools, it's actually super simple. We're just going to do an internal bool God mode, and it's going to point to, or it's get is going to point to. So point, I call it point to. If I could type God mode CFG.value. And the set is going to point to God mode CFG.value equals value. And we can actually do the same thing for infinite sprint real quick. So internal bool infinite sprint get infinite sprint CFG.value. And then same thing for the pointer, infinite sprint CFG.value equals value. And I typed it in wrong. Piss off. Set, there we go. We're not setting it equal to a value tuple, we're just setting it equal to value. And then for the player speed CFG, it's going to be a little different, and I'm going to put this in between. So you can organize these however you like. This is just how I'm going to organize it. I'm going to put all my config entries above and all my, all my fields below, or excuse me, no. Yeah, all my properties below. I always get that mixed up. All my properties below. You can organize them. You can take it even further and say bools next to bools and stuff like that. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to, for now, maybe down the line when we have more, I probably will, but at the moment it's fine. So we'll do an internal, I'll do an internal float, and we'll say player speed. And we're going to do get, and we're going to open that up. Man, all right, let's do it this way. Get. And for something like this, why do you do this to me? I swear to God, it hates me. Okay. To get, we want to say if player speed.cfg.value is less than 0, at the very least, then we're going to go ahead and return player speed cfg.default value, and we're going to cast that over to the float with an explicit cast. And the reason I want to do this is the player speed should never be below 0. If it is, it's going to go ahead and just set it up properly. And if it isn't below 0, we're just going to go ahead and return player cfg.value. One additional thing we can do, we can't do it today because we don't have the variable set up, but we can do it, is to check to see if we're host at this level. If we check to see if we're host at this level, when we go to like assign, like say, hey, player speed is 500 here, for example, I have movement speed here. We'll talk about that later. We say movement speed is equal to player speed. Player speed is going to return the default value rather than the value that the player is set. So it avoids an issue where the player is non-host and tries to be cheating, but it also doesn't muck up our code here. We don't have to do logic here. The logic's done at this level. Um, so we've got player speed set like that, and then we just want to give it a setter. Set points to player speed.cfg value equals value. Perfect. Okay. So that's it for those variables. We'll come back and do bindings later. I'm not really. Oh, looks like I typed something wrong here. Oh, I accidentally added a second one of those. There we go. Go ahead and save and build to make sure everything's good. Let's go back to player controller repatch. And since I've already written in the movement speed, let's look at ILSpy and look at it. So let's type in movement speed here. Piss off. And now we have a variable here. Let's go look at it. So we see public float movement speed is equal to 0.5f. Not sure why he's cut it in half to for default, but it is what it is. We can use this because if we go down here, when we look at, so if we're not in a free camera situation, the movement speed is divided by the carry weight. So you could also decrease the carry weight to increase the movement speed. But we see here it's just using that and then some math to determine how fast to move the player. So if we increase the movement speed, we will be de facto increasing the player's actual speed. So let's go ahead and do that. We could say in this particular case, it's a little different. Underscore movement speed is equal to our tutorial mod base dot instance dot config manager dot player speed. So we're not going to toss this one in particular behind an if statement. Instead, if we were to restrict player speed, so if, hey, players, we're not host, we shouldn't be able to cheat, I would instead go back to the config controller and say player speed. I think we talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this. We would just return the default value if we are not the host. We could do the same thing for the bools. We would do the same type of getters and setters instead of pointing towards them like this. But since right now we're not doing that, we are just going to leave it like that. It's not a super hard change, so I don't feel bad about not doing that. If we start adding more, it's like, well, we should probably just add the is host. Then we're going to do that before we get 50 more, and we have to do them all at once because that sucks. So let's go ahead and do if sprint meter as well. Since this is a boolean, it's either run like default or always set it to 1f. We could say underscore underscore underscore. No, not underscore underscore underscore. Excuse me. We would want to say if tutorial mod base dot instance, so your plugin instance dot config manager dot infinite sprint is true. So if that's true, we just go ahead and say sprint meter is equal to 1f. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything. Okay. And that's it for infinite sprint. And we'll say update patch. So player controller up. We'll say update patch actually, because it's doing more than one. So we just want to make more sense. So let's copy this over and paste it here. And let's get rid of this stuff. Let's get rid of these references. And in this case, we're going to be patching something else. Let's go ahead and we'll just put in empty quotes here. And I want to say patch player death, or maybe patch death, I guess it's fine. So this, we're going to figure out how to do God mode. Let's go back to the code. So let's go find where the player gets damaged and see how we can avoid that. Maybe we just say damage 0 or whatever. So let's say damage. Let's see, that's update, take fall damage. We can ignore that. That's just a variable. Main velocity to take damage if we want to prevent fall damage itself. There's a lot of damage here. Wow. Teleport player. They have kill player. Okay. So looking at kill player, let's see here. So the first thing to note here is we might be able to avoid this getting called. We could override it, return false, and just never kill the player. The player could still take damage. Probably don't want that. I'm going to do real God mode where you just straight up don't take damage. So let's see here. So we have kill. Let's take a look for damage. Is it near us? Kill player, kill player, kill player, spawn dead body. Dang. Is it above us? Let's update. Let's keep going here. We have hit. Okay. So I saw allow player death in the other one. I saw allow player death here, and we can see that it does this check. So let's click on it. Did I miss this? Damage player. Was it above us? Get threat level. Oh, it's all the way at the top. Okay. I'm like, where the heck is this? Okay, so oh, player death is here, and kill player must be down here, huh? Interact performed. Oh, that's open. Update. Oh, okay. It was below update. Update's all the way down here. Kill player's down here. Okay. So anyway, let's take a look again at allow player death. So allow player death just returns a true or false, and it's a bool, and it's public, so that's super easy. We have damage player. Let's take a look at that too, actually. And again, the first thing it checks for is allow player death. So we could theoretically just override damage player, but at the same time, the player could also still just straight up die. So we don't want that. So we're probably going to want to override allow player death, since on all of these methods, it is the first thing that gets checked. So let's start with allow player death and kind of work our way from there. See if it works. So we're going to go ahead and try and override that. Let's copy its method name, and we're going to do name of player controller B dot allow player death. I could have pasted that, whatever. And okay, there's two ways to patch it in this particular case. We're going to do it the right way, but I'm also going to show you the unright way, or the not right way, because it's the way that I ended up doing it when I originally wrote this, back when I originally wrote GameMaster and was still learning. So if you do a prefix, which is what I did, so we do a prefix, and we make this a Boolean, the return acts a little differently. So you could return true or false, of course. So we'll do return true, return false. What happens when you do this? If you return true, the normal method that this patch applied to will run like normal. So we could do like do code here, we could do stuff, but it would still run like normal, and it would ultimately return as expected. Very likely that it would likely return true if we expected to be hit by an enemy. If we return false, if you return false, the normal method that this patch applied to will not run at all. And I know for this particular case, I don't know if this is always the case. I'd have to look at the docs for it. If this is called, in this case, the method will return false. So this will prevent the player from dying. Now, that works, I guess, technically, and if it fits, it ships, but we want to do this, I guess, quote-unquote, correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all these, and we're going to make this a void, and we're going to make this a postfix. So how do we access the result of a method or the return of a method in a postfix like this? What we can do is say ref bool __ instance. Or excuse me, not __ instance, my bad, I'm getting used to like the other thing, result. So we say ref if we I know I've covered it in a video, but it may not have been in this series. A ref, essentially, let me bring up the documentation for it. Ref keyword. Oh, I actually had it up. Here we go. I didn't really have it up in this particular moment, but I had been searching for it a while ago to sort of understand it. So this is out. This is ref. Here we go. To use a ref parameter, both the method definition and the calling method must explicitly use the ref keyword, as shown in the following example. Since we're using Harmony, that's not the case in this particular situation. We just steal it, and Harmony handles the rest for us. And what we do when we use ref is we modify the original value. So that's all that does, is Harmony passes us a reference result, and when we modify result, that modifies the original variable, which is why we also get things like movement speed, sprint meter, the other things. So that's why we use ref. I guess it's a little it makes more sense to explain it now that we're using something that's like, well, why are we using result here? And result is just the name that Harmony gave the result that the method would have returned. So, for example, if we just wanted to say always have God mode, result equals false, because if we look at the code, false, if it returns false, so if allow player death is equal to false, then we return. So let's go ahead and patch this in with our config. So if tutorial mod base dot instance dot config manager dot god mode result equals false. Otherwise, it's going to leave the result alone and not do anything. If the result is left alone and it doesn't do anything, in the event that you have God mode disabled in a situation where you shouldn't die anyway, you're not going to die. So you'll never die in the player ship. You'll never die at I guess that's really the only place you'll never actually die at, or the other situations like the edge cases where you might die at. So this will work for this. There is one final thing I want to do real quick before we patch in um, the or excuse me, not patch in, but put in the config bindings here. Let's go ahead and do a start patch. So player, or we'll say just start patch, and let's get rid of these variables and grab an instance of the player. So player controller B underscore underscore instance, and just get rid of all this stuff. And let's go ahead and give our plugin a player controller B here. So internal player controller B player. And if we go back to player controller B, we're going to say tutorial, so plugin instance dot player equals instance. So we're not going to use it today. However, we may in the future. For example, let's say we need need the ability to mess with, or not mess with a player, but modify the player outside of a patch. Then we can modify the tutorial mod base.instance.player rather than having to go in and do some goofy shit with some patches that doesn't make sense. So this keeps us, it separates things and makes things super easy to modify. And now that we've done all this, let's go ahead and toss our plugin into, I'll bring this over here, into the game. Oh, nope, I've missed something before we do that. We actually have to do the bindings, otherwise they're not going to be usable. So let's paste this in 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And this is my least favorite part, though I think we'll have a little bit of fun with it today. So we have God mode, player speed, infinite sprint, and God mode is a boolean, and we want this to default to false. We want player speed to default to 0.5 like we saw inside of the 0.5f, like we saw inside of the code, and then we want infinite sprint to be false by default as well. We want God mode to be under, I'm going to call these host settings because they're kind of are, and all of these I would definitely restrict if we end up doing that. So we're going to go ahead and say host setting or player speed. Actually, just copy host settings over and over here, and then infinite sprint. Okay, and then for this stuff, we'll have a little bit of fun with this. It's God mode. What do you think it does? Player speed. We're just going to go zoom. Very fun. And infinite sprint. Say, can't stop, won't stop, never going to stop. All right. Now that we've got these binding to this, one thing I want to do before we attach this for testing, this isn't something I would recommend for release, is set these to true. So I would say true. We'll set this to 20F and then set this to true. We'll change these back after we test, but I want to see if they're actually working. So let's go ahead and do that. And I don't feel like patching them into the mod menu yet. So let's go to debug here, refresh, grab this, plugins. And all right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and hop into the game and see if it's working. And one thing I can do while it's loading, firstly, is no errors. We can go into Bepinex config tutorial mod and see that it is, so we've got the player speed, zoom, God mode's true, can't stop, and these are under the right thing. So everything's looking good. We'll be able to see if our infinite sprint's working, if we're fast, and if we have God mode. We'll hide this for now, if it'll let me. There we go. So for some reason, I don't know if it's my mod or if it's the fucking config or the thing, or if it's just the game. It takes a second to load the main menu like that. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh, well, I can tell you immediately that we have infinite speed, or our speed's higher. Piss off. Okay, infinite sprint's working because we are sprinting super fast and sprinting, and it's not taking away. Let's go ahead and see if God mode's working. Let's spawn a couple of those doggy woggies. Come on. You missed. Okay, looks like they're not able to eat me. Let's go inside and test that out against some jesters real quick, as I am curious. Uh, see, I hate jumping these with super speed. Oop, oop. So, oh really? Thank you. You're so kind. You gotta find them. You can never know what the spawn is at the beginning in these fucking things because it's like could be a mile away. Just gotta find an open vent. Just spawn in a few. Wow. What the hell? Where the fuck are these things? See, it's supposed to be close, but it's only so close, right? I'm faster than you, so you can piss off. Okay, I'm gonna respawn some more here now that I'm over here. Maybe okay, here we go. What the fuck? Of course they gotta block the fire escape, you dickheads. It's pushing it closer. What the fuck? This is loud as shit! I think they're all stuck. Ah, you can't kill me. Alright, that's working. Okay. That was loud. Holy shit. Alright, so everything's good. Everything's working. Let's go ahead and close out of the game. And let's set this to... So the default's 20, but if I set this to like 0.5, if I set this to false, I set... Oh, I missed this one. Set this to false. Save these. Open the game back up. Go ahead and hit online. And the best thing about that is, of course, if anyone's modding, or using mods with configs that we don't need to rebuild after changing a setting. Okay, let's see. The fuck did I change that to? Jesus Christ. Okay, maybe we gotta fix that real quick. Damn. Change it to 0.5. Okay, so looks like we probably do need to do like a, let's change it to 0.5. What is it? Should be 1 maybe? Let's do that. I don't know if this is gonna rebind with it. No, it's not. Okay, so that's one thing I want to fix here. So although default is 0.5 when it's set, let's see here. Movement, speed. So we set it as a postfix. Is it getting? It's not in update anywhere. Though we set it at the end of update, so it's going to be whatever we determine it is. So we probably are going to end up needing a Boolean modifier for it. So unfortunate, I was trying to avoid that, but it is what it is. So we'll go ahead and do a real quick Boolean for it. And we're not gonna test it here. We're just gonna actually we're gonna go ahead and put it under infinite sprint CFG. So I think that's fine. We'll say custom sprint CFG. I think that's fine. And custom sprint. I don't know. If it gets annoying, then we can change it. But I think custom sprint's fine. And then we'll get rid of. We'll just do that, and we'll say custom sprint enables infinite sprint and allows for custom move speed. There we go. We'll just go ahead and label it correctly since it's going to be a little, it's not going to be super self-explanatory. Glad we caught that. I hadn't done a lot of testing with it, and I thought that would be interesting. So say custom sprint, and then we'll bring this over. Okay, we'll grab the player speed, and there we go. So now that'll only be set if the player is doing that. If the variable is not set, it's not going to do anything goofy with the player speed. All right, so that's good. I'll probably be messing with the menu in the next one. I want to modify the menu so that it fits towards like the top over the options, and all that good stuff. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.